Everybody, I'm Christy with SouthernPlate.com, and today I'm coming to you from my kitchen in my hometown of Huntsville, Alabama. I've teamed up with Ball Canning to bring you a flavor of the season from my region, and today that is going to be green tomato relish. This is a delicacy in the South. We love this stuff. A lot of people call it chow chow, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to make and can yourself in your home. You know, canning has had a resurge in popularity lately, and it's been a wonderful trend that's picking up. I really love seeing that. So many people are getting back to the land with the sustainable living movement, with home gardens, farm shares, and even food co-ops, and we're learning to really appreciate the freshness of local food and what we can do with it to help us preserve it. I've actually joined a food co-op and a farm share this year, so I've got lots of great fresh produce, and I'm really enjoying preserving that mostly through canning this year so that we can enjoy throughout the year. You know, canning is very easy. Don't be worried about it. A lot of people think it's too hard and it just seems kind of overwhelming, but it's so easy. And there is a right way to can and a dangerous way to can. Don't get intimidated by that though, because canning properly and safely is very easy to do, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. Now, to start with, you want to make sure you start with a good recipe that's been tested safe. One of the places that I always go to find my recipes that I know I can rely on, are freshpreserving.com. This recipe today is actually going to be on freshpreserving.com as well, or you can find it on my website, southernplate.com. Another great resource for safe canning recipes is the Ball Blue Book. It's called a blue book. It's not actually blue, but they come out with one of these every so often, and I always make sure I have the latest edition. As you can tell, this one's actually, I've been using it a lot this year. It's got all kinds of great recipes for pretty much anything you could want to make and can at home. And I just really love this book. It's a great resource and you can trust it. You want to make sure that you're canning using the latest methods. And when you use a recipe from freshpreserving.com or from the Ball Blue Book, you know that you're in good hands. You're doing fine. So today, let's talk about our recipe. What we're going to start with for green tomato relish, and this is kind of, some people call this, it's like an end of the garden relish. You know, this is one of those that when the garden's starting to kind of dry up, you've got all you can out of it, you can take what's left and you mix it all up and make a wonderful relish. Now, a lot of people say, well, what do you use a relish for? In the South, just think of it as something that adds a sparkle to your dish. So if you're going to have a hot dog, you can have relish on top of hot dogs. I like to have a big spoonful of relish on top of a bowl of beans, or it's especially good with a warm slice of fresh cornbread. Put that on top. Oh, absolutely amazing. To make this relish, it's really easy. All we're going to need is some salt, some apple cider vinegar, some sugar, bell peppers. You can use red or green. My recipe specifies red, but obviously I had green today. Onions and some green tomatoes. Now I have little green tomatoes right now, so I actually supplemented this with some red tomatoes too, but that's the beauty of it. It's easy, you know, and you can just kind of use what you have on hand for a lot of this stuff. So the red tomatoes work perfectly. The green bell peppers instead of the red, it all works fine. So what I did is I just chopped these vegetables up and ran them through my food processor. That was it. Then I put them in this pot and I brought this just to a boil. I added my vegetables, my vinegar, my salt, my sugar, and I brought it just to a boil, and then I simmered it for about 30 to 45 minutes until it's a little bit thick. This is going to actually thicken up even more as it cools down some. And that's all there is to making your relish. I mean, it's really simple. Let me show you what this looks like here. It's actually, even though it's a green tomato relish, and I have lots of green tomatoes in there, the red, I used some red bell peppers, and they kind of take over the color of everything. So that's why you look, this relish was made with all green tomatoes, but the red kind of dominates everything. So what we're going to do now is we're going to can our relish, and this is going to make this relish safe to eat for up to a year. You can test the seal on it whenever you get ready. Now, I am very fortunate because I have the Ball electric canner. I love this thing. I absolutely love this thing. But you don't have to have an electric canner. All you have to have is a pot that's tall enough to cover your jars by an inch of water once they're in there. So it needs to be kind of deep. And then you take that pot, it can even be this pot, because see, these jars are kind of small, so this pot will work fine. And you add your dish towel in the bottom of it, and then you fill it with water and bring that to a boil. That's all you got to have. Now, the pot does need to have a lid to go on it. It's very important that we add that lid because that's how you're going to properly water bath can something. You want to put it in the water. You want it to be covered by at least an inch of water on top. Then you want to put a lid on it, and you want to bring that to a boil. Now, in your recipes, you're going to notice it says process for so many minutes. The processing time actually begins once that water is at a full boil and you've got the lid on it. Those things are very important. If you don't have the lid on your pot, it's called open kettle canning, and it's not a safe way to can because it's not going to regulate that temperature and keep it where it needs to be. Another way that's not safe to can, and we've all seen it done, I was even taught to can this way when I was younger, is to take your hot jars, fill them with hot liquid, put the lid on it, and they'll just say invert it. And that, and then that lid will seal. Just because the lid seals does not mean it's canned safely. In order for something to be safely canned, it has to be processed in a water bath. So it's very important that we do that. But like I said, it's easy. I mean, it's a matter of 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, depending on what you're canning, boiling, and you've got food that you know is safe for your family to eat, and you can have confidence in that. So what I've done is, this is my electric canner. And the beauty of this is it has different settings. So I just kind of had these simmering, and then I turned them down a little bit. You want your jars to be hot when you put your liquid in it. And you also want to have a towel or something on your countertop. You don't want to put hot jar on a cold counter, hot liquid in it. You're asking for it. So you want to I'm going to take my jars out of here. And this is my jar lifter. This is actually very cheap. This is a great little tool. I canned without this for years, and I don't know why, because for just a couple of dollars, it's so easy to get your jars out. It's just perfectly designed to hold those jars. This comes like as a set. You can get this at freshpreservingstore.com, or you can go to any store that sells canning jars, and you can get this little kit. This is a jar lifter, and this is a canning funnel. And then this actually helps you get air bubbles out once you get your liquid in here, your contents in here. And I'll show you about this neat little trick in just a minute. So let me get my jars out. I've got to get more out of here. And, I was very fortunate recently. I got to go to Indiana and visit Ball Canning headquarters. That was so much fun. I went in this huge warehouse that was filled from floor to ceiling with pallets of canning jars. It was all I could do not to just pull my truck up, load it up, and take them all home. And my husband is always saying I'm buying too many canning jars, because I do. I come home with a case this time of year, I come home with usually a couple cases of canning jars every week, because I'm always canning different stuff, And he's always saying I'm buying too many canning jars. He would have really died if I'd have brought home what I wanted to bring home. But let me show you some of the other things I do with canning jars. These are fine. These are still good and hot. I use them to store things in. This is the new, this is actually the green color. This was last year's color. Ball Canning is coming out with a special vintage color issue for every year. The first year they did it, they had these beautiful blue ones. Aren't those gorgeous? I love those. And the second year they had these green. This year's is purple, which I'm actually using this to drink my tea in. And they even have these little handy things with straws you can get wide mouth or regular mouth. And this is a quart jar. That's about the right size for me to have for iced tea. But I store all kinds of things in my canning jars. This one has popcorn in it. This is a big jar of beans, navy beans. This is some corn I've dehydrated, pasta, almonds. And then I've even got some more dried beans back here. And I do that because, these things come in these little plastic bags. And the plastic bags, if you're planning on storing something long-term in your pantry, the plastic bags are not bug-proof. And it's just not a good way to store things long-term. So I transfer it to the jars It's much prettier. And I have a really great reusable container. A canning jar just has so many uses, and you can use these canning jars over and over and over. If you're canning in them, you can can in them over and over and over. As long as there's no chips or cracks, you just keep on canning, you're fine. The only thing you have to change out is these lids. This is the lid, and these are nice clean lids. You have to change these out every time. Every time you can, you want to get a new set of lids, but you can buy these in boxes where you buy the canning jars, and it's a much more economical than just buying all new canning jars. So I've got my hot jars here, and I want to go ahead and fill them with this Green Tomato Relish. So these are 8-ounce jars. I got that one a little full. Let me check it. You want to have a 1/2 inch headspace on these. And this little tool, this is a 1-inch headspace, 3/4, 1/2 inch, and 1/4. So I'm going to go to this little step that says 1/2 inch. And see. Yep, that's a little too much. Not much, but just a little. So let me take a little of that out. There you go. Let's see now. Perfect. So I've got that in there, and you can also take it, you want to get any air bubbles out. So you use the end of that for that. No air bubbles in that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put me a lid on this one and get my ring. I've got my canning rings right here. And when you tighten this, don't try to show off your Hercules strength here. You just want to finger tighten it just enough, and that'll be fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn this up to can, and I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the canner and fill the rest of my jars. There's a lot of great ideas on fresh preserving for different ways to use your canning jars and stuff. Pinterest is also a great place if you're looking for fun uses for canning jars, ways you can decorate the different seasons with them. I love using them all over the house. Okay, so let's see if this is good. And I'm going to show you, I need to show you one more thing that I do with these. I didn't do it with that one. I take a damp dishcloth and I wipe around the rim of my jar. That's going to help this lid to seal on there. And it's also going to prevent, I wrap around the ring too. You don't want any sticky residue, because when you go to open this up, this ring is going to stick. So let me put this one in here. So you just want nice, clean rims on your jars. This one's getting a little loud, so I'm going to turn that down a little, and I'll turn it up in just a minute. I want to be able to chat with y'all a minute. So this is awesome. And you know, for all these recipes and for more, go check out Ball Canning on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Ball Canning. You can also follow them on Twitter and share pictures of what you're doing at your home. My daughter and I have been canning all season long. We've made spiced peach butter. We've made strawberry lemonade concentrate. We've made salsa. We've canned fresh tomatoes. We've done all kinds of fun things. And I would love to see the things that you have canned. So y'all make sure you tag me and post on their page too. Let's get this one in here. Okay. Now, once I get all of these in here, we're going to pretend that I've got them all in here now. What I'm going to do, and this is because I'm using the electric canner. If you're using a pot, what you're going to do is you're going to cover it with a lid. In the electric canner, you put this in first. Then you cover it with a lid. And you would set that switch to can. Now at home, you're just going to turn up your heat and bring this to a boil, and you've got a dish towel in the bottom of your pot, unless you have an electric canner, or you may even have a water bath canning pot. They make pots specially for that you can certainly use, and it has a little rack in the bottom. So you get your jars in it, you want to make sure they're covered with at least 1 inch of water, put the lid on it and bring that to a full boil. Then you're going to process it for the amount of time stated in your recipe. For this recipe, since I'm just using these 8-ounce jars, this is going to process for 10 minutes. Once you bring them out, once it's done processing, you can set them on the counter and let them cool. And you're going to hear lots of little pops as your lids, the little vacuum seal takes hold. And then you'll notice that these do not have the rings on it. The rings are something you put on there when you're canning it, and that's going to hold that lid down when you're canning it. It actually kind of turns, each of these, when you're canning, each of these little jars turns into its own little pressure canner in there. So it's like its own little canning environment, a little oven in there working. So you take these off, unless, you know, sometimes we like to keep them on if we're giving it as a gift or something, that's fine. But even in that case, you want to take it off and let them dry, because these will rust. But you don't want to store your canned goods with these rings on there, and let me tell you why. This is a good seal. I know this is a good seal. Look, I can pick it up like this. Nothing's going to happen to this jar. This is a good seal. Now, if I were to store it with this on, and this seal were to somehow become compromised and open up and let bacteria in, if it heated up again through, you know, just your house getting hot or change in weather, then that seal could reseal, and I would have no way to know that it's been compromised and this is not safe anymore, and I don't know because I had this lid on. Another thing you don't want to do because of that is you don't want to stack your jars on top of each other when you're storing them. You want to stack them in a single layer. Again, because if this seal were to become compromised and a jar stacking on top, it's very liable to just reseal again. So storing them like this, I know I can pull any jar out of my canning pantry, which is very full this time of year, and I know that this is sealed and this is safe for me and my family. So that's very important to me. Now, I want y'all to make sure you share what you're making at your home with us. We want to know. And visit freshpreserving.com for some great recipes to inspire you. You can go and search by ingredient. You can search by recipe title if there's something in particular you're looking for. And follow Ball Canning on all their social media. You can use the hashtag #MadeFromHere to join our little movement and show us what you're making. What are the flavors of your region that you're canning up to enjoy year-round with your family? I hope you enjoyed seeing how easy it is to can with Ball Canning. And join me on southernplate.com. Thank you for coming into my kitchen today. I've enjoyed this time with you. See you soon. Bye-bye.